Oh, yes. We are live now. Yay! Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining me from. My name is Dumebi, and you're very welcome to Parenting with Dumebi. I am a UK-based parenting expert and a mother of two. And yes, we talk about everything about parenting. And I know you're all familiar with parenting is hard work. All of us here, parenting is hard work, is hard work. The truth is, parenting is hard work. But the good news is, once you have the right knowledge, you have the right techniques, you'll be able to navigate every challenges that comes your way, because whether you like it or not, there will be challenges. Every stage of a child's development comes with its own challenges. But knowing what to do and the right thing to do, it will help you overcome all of these challenges, and it helps you parent your child with confidence. And that is what School of Parenting is all about. And you can feel free to follow me on Facebook as Dumebi Orungbe. YouTube is School of Parenting with Dumebi, and my blog page is schoolofparenting.co.uk. And also, I'm a breast milk and breastfeeding advocate. I am very passionate about breastfeeding, and I have a book called Breastfeeding in the Marketplace. It's on Amazon already, so you can grab a copy. And also, I'm advocate for children's well-being and development. I believe in so much, I believe so much in helping parents to teach their children or help their children create childhood memories, because it is its memories you create for a child during that childhood that they will take into adulthood. Parenting is not about shouting, whining, and all of that. It's about creating good memories, through singing, through joy, through singing, dancing, all of those little things you can do, taking pictures and all of that, that will help you. And the truth is, all of these things, when you do them, your children will never forget them in their adulthood. So all of this is what I help parents, to do. And today we're going to be looking at special educational needs in a child. A lot of people wonder, what is special educational needs? When you hear the word special education, what comes to your mind? There's a lot of issues, a lot of questions around it. How do I know my child is a special child? How do I know my child needs like requires special needs? Who do I tell? How do I go about it? What should I even look out for? All of these things we're going to be looking at today. And our guest speaker is going to help us, give us an in-depth understanding of what special needs is all about and how to go about it. And the truth is, whether your child have special needs, if your child having special needs does not mean your child is broken. There's always a way out, as long as you know what to do and how to go about it. So this should be helping us look into today. And please feel free to share this live, like it, and also drop your comments. And yes, so before I bring our guest speaker on board, I will like you to know a little bit about her. So her name is Dr. Joy Osasume Emmanuel. She's a passionate additional needs coach and community optometrics in the UK. Dr. Joy is dedicated to providing quality care for all, collaborating with healthcare professionals to support diverse communities. Dr. Joy is a proud member of various organizations advocating for autism and intentional parenting. She's a blessed wife to her dear husband, who she calls Obom. I hope I pronounced it well. That is Obim. Yeah, that is King, my king. And she's a mother of two amazing children, and she calls them masterpiece and world changers. Wow, this is so powerful. So please join me as I make welcome Dr. Joy Emmanuel. I'm going to be bringing her on stage now. Yay! Here she
Hello.
is. Good morning,
Yay.
Dr.
Like,
Joy. How are you doing today?
bless.
We
Thank
are
you
very
for
pleased
having
to
me.
see you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. So great to be
Yeah,
here. It's
you're
so
very welcome.
lovely to be
I
in your.
like your glasses.
Yeah, thank you.
It
Thank
is
you.
good on you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. New year,
Yeah,
new look.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you everyone for joining, and for those who are yet to join, thank you in advance for believing in us to come online and learn a thing or two. So we want to especially appreciate Dumebi for all she's doing in the community, and wherever you are, be it morning, afternoon, or night, we want to say um, well done, and I hope the sun is shining in your area. It's shining around us today. I'm
You rained earlier here.
yeah, I'm doing this live from the city of Eastbourne, far away, and it's called the Sunshine City. So we're blessed to have sunshine today. And I hope I bring you some sunshine in your life as you listen and get a thing or two. I would like to appreciate my husband too, who has given me the opportunity to love upon my children and take our children, and take our time to nurture them. And it has given me a different perspective about life, and um, turned our worlds around, to be honest. Yeah, and that's why I'm here to be able to support other parents who may be trying to navigate life with raising children with additional needs. Yeah, let's see. There's something I'd like to bring up as well. There's no there's no perfect way of raising children. What my coach would say, Coach Wendy, she would say there is a manual for raising kings. So if you want to raise kings, there is a manual. It's just finding where that manual is and looking into it. As Dumebi said, if you have a child who has special education needs or special education requirements,
Oh, network. Mm. Yes, I think network has knocked her off. Now let's see if we can bring her back again. Um, okay. Sorry guys, please bear with me. If you can hear us and if you can see us, can you please put it in the comment section, please? Thank you. And also remember to like this video and share it so others can see and learn from it as well. Mm, yeah, good. Mm, just bear with me. What's going on? Yes, I can hear you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, sis. Oh, yeah, here she is. Here she is.
sorry about that. Hey, they
The
kicked me
network
out.
knocked you off, isn't it? Hope
Okay,
you're
so
okay.
yes, I'm okay. I think it's just the network. It's one of those things. These things
Yeah,
happen. Yeah, that's just explains that we're in real life. So sometimes things don't go the way we expect, and we just have to keep
absolutely.
moving. It doesn't matter how fast you move. What matters is that we are moving. So long as you're taking one step at a time, whether you're crawling, you're walking, you're running, you're flying, the most important thing is that you're not stagnant. And that's why we're
Mm.
here to re-emphasize that fact. So for me, I don't really, I prefer not to call it special needs. I call it well, politically correct way of saying it is additional needs. And because every child is special, every child has their
Yeah.
own unique abilities and unique ways of doing things. So they could come up with an extra need compared to their peers. So I would call it additional needs compared to, what they normally would
Actually. Mm.
need support with in one way or the other. A child that is a genius also has needs. So if you put a child that is a genius alongside a child that is developing typically, he's gonna get bored or she's gonna get bored easily learning um, alongside the other child. So let's bear that in mind. So we're gonna go straight on with the plans we have today to give you some information. And please get your questions ready. We will be having sessions where you can ask your question live, and feel free to tell us how you're feeling about the needs you're seeing in your children or child. And if we can support you, we will. If not, we're happy to signpost you to where to get help in your city, in your country, and that's all. So understanding additional needs and disability. The word disability already has a big stigma attached to it. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to, especially in the part of the world where I come from. It's the stigma is very high, so people would rather tag the child as stubborn, disobedient, or naughty or lazy instead of looking at the actual support the child needs. As the maybe mentioned when she was talking about what we're going to do today, she talked about supporting children to enjoy life and supporting children to thrive, supporting children to enjoy their daily experiences. Children are not going to remember what you bought for them. They're going to remember the time we spent with them, the memories we created with them, and that's what makes parenting really, really interesting. And it's a game changer when you know the right tools to use. You don't need to spend 24 hours with your child to create memories. Even in the songs we sing to them, the way we call them special names, the way we allow them interact with their environment, those are memories we can help them create. But if you have an issue with getting your child to engage in life the way you want to, it means the child may need a different support system in place to help them maximize life in general and also enjoy being a part of the family. Okay, so with the topic we're exploring today, it is important that we understand early intervention and seeking the right support. If we do not understand how important early intervention is, it's going to be really difficult for us and for the children we're raising. So keep your comments coming. If you have any questions, bring them in. Coach Dumebi will be putting them together and we'll ask them at the end. Feel free to ask your questions as we go. So, what is additional needs education? Additional needs education and disability refer to learning difficulties and disabilities that make it harder for a child to learn compared to their peers. Remember what I said
Mm.
about a genius and a typically growing child? So, say for instance, reading, writing, understanding information, communicating and interacting with others, and so on. Well, another major way we can also notice that a child has additional needs in the way they regulate their emotion, the way they behave. So, for instance, if a child is upset, some children will just cry and you will give them some reassuring words and they'll be fine. Some other children will throw down the table, they will throw the chair over the classroom, they would bring down the adult in front of them, they would start kicking and blowing and crying and screaming at the top of their lungs. And if you're in the house, it's easier to manage. But if you're in the public, you're either turn between smacking the child, which we don't recommend, or start to worry about the adults or people who are looking, or try to take the shame on and feel embarrassed and stuff like that. Well, instead of empathizing with the child and seeking ways of getting them to regulate. So these are the things we're going to be talking about. This is an extra need compared to the pair who would just understand when you reassure them verbally or give them a comfort toy, things like that. So other areas we will be talking about in this on this topic is processing, ability to process information, uh, move or carry out daily activities independently. So, if children struggle in these areas, say for instance, eating by themselves, um, taking their bath by themselves if they're old enough, making their breakfast if they're old enough, and how do you even know they're old enough? We will go on the age appropriate things, milestones that they need to meet from 0 to say 18 years, as the maybe is already doing, or 0 to 6 years, 0 to 10 years, depending on how far you are looking at. So some children are able to do these things earlier than others. If there is a delay, it means you have identified a need. And what should we do when we identify a need? That's what we're going to be talking about. So there's some very common areas of additional needs. So apart from the ones I mentioned above, so it's grouped into four categories. One is cognition and learning. The other one is communication and interaction. Next one, number three, is social, emotional, and mental health. And the other group, which is a major one for the children we're raising now, sensory and physical needs. So such as hearing impairments, cerebral palsy, and so on. So I'm going to give an example of cognition and learning. So say for instance the child has dyslexia, so or intellectual disabilities. They're going to struggle with reading. They're going to struggle with understanding what they're reading. They're going to struggle with following the context of the book they're reading, or a comprehension, if it's the page of a story. They're going to at the end of this reading a story to them, and you ask them, well, what do you understand by this story? Some children may just give you a straight face like they don't understand, while some children will just walk away. So depending on how much communication they're able to, how much they're able to interact with you. Some will interact verbally, some will interact by walking away. Whichever behavior they give you, it's a means of communication, and it's something you should start documenting, so that if it is the situation where you have to report or seek assessment, these are the things you're going to be telling them. Like when I'm reading a story to my child, the child just walks away. When I'm doing this for my child, the child just wants to run around without sitting down all day. So, do they really understand what I'm teaching them? At school, the nursery teacher is complaining that they never sit down, or they do not interact with others, group learning scenarios and things like that. These are the things you want to be documenting. So, in the area of communication as well, so, for instance, autism spectrum condition and speech delays, those are examples of communication and interaction needs. Some have the diagnosis already, some don't. So, depending on what you already are dealing with, then you have something to start documenting and seeking extra help. And there's something I want us to understand. The fact that the child has a diagnosis doesn't mean that anything will change. The child is still your child. Nothing has changed. The face is still the same. The body features are still the same. What is just different is that they now have a formal document for them to get help. In some countries, in some other countries, you have to seek the help yourself and financially fund them. So it depends on the location you are in and where your child is being supported. So if these are the situations in terms of ADHD, autism or speech delays or anything related to communication and interaction. Please start documenting your observations and get them together so that when you are presenting your child's case, you will know how the system will know how to support you support you and your family specifically. The other one we talked about was social, emotional, and mental health, such as attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, popularly called ADHD, and anxiety disorders. What what can it present like? Say, for instance, if a child has attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, they would have a reduced attention span compared to their peers. When you're reading to them, they want to just walk away, they want to hop from one chair to another, they want to be jumping on the bed. When the light is off, they want it back on because they're not done playing. You know, they want to run around the playground and just not wait for their turn, things like that. It's disruptive and dysregulating. Does it mean the child is broken? No. The child is just seeking help. And that's why we as parents are there to support them. When there's anxiety disorders, they could be anxious about going out, they could be anxious about visitors coming into the house, they could be anxious about sitting on the dining to eat with everybody. Say, for instance, when you're on the dining, you all want to interact while you're eating your delicious meal, or of course not when you have food in your mouth. So if that's the case, some children want to just excuse themselves and eat in the living room instead. It doesn't mean they're disrespectful. It just means they want their space and they want a different environment where they can regulate. So these are things we want to note down and start thinking of on how ways we can support these children. I hope we're getting a thing or two. Anyone
Yeah,
there?
absolutely.
Lo-
Absolutely.
Lovely,
Well
lovely.
done.
Thank you. So the other thing we're going to be hammering on here is, when do I seek help? When do I know
Mm,
my child needs a bit more than I'm giving, a bit more than my husband is giving? If you're parenting alone, how do you know you need to shout out for help? At this point, I would like to also mention that when you're raising a neurotypical child is a child who is meeting all their milestones and as expected, and they're following the strategies that have been put in place for every regular child. And you, when you're raising such children, they say you have a village. It takes a village to raise that kind of child. But when you're raising a child who is neurodiverse, it feels as if that village is a wish land, it's a dreamland. It feels like
mm,
you spend the whole lifetime looking for that village that never comes, that you never
mm,
find, except God helps you to find the village.
mm,
And most times the villages that support these kind of families are virtual.
mm,
They're virtual villages. And some people would not prefer virtual villages because they want human interaction. The parents
mm,
are overstretched, they are stressed, they've been refused visiting families that they would usually visit, because when they go with with these children to those homes, there will be dysregulations because maybe routines have changed. There could be breaking of glasses or breaking of beautiful ornaments, and keeping you and your child feeling like, oh, why did I come here? Kind of feeling. And your host will be thinking, oh, what's going on here? How am I gonna manage this? And it's chaos everywhere. So sometimes it's easier to remain in your own little bubble, which is very tempting, but that puts you and your children at risk of exploring the world, exploring what is out there for us. I'm going to come to that later on, but this is what I want you to find out. It is very tempting to say, we'll just stay in our little house and use our little garden if we have one, and just manage what we have. But guess what? We're not going to be there for them forever. So the earlier we can get them integrating into the society where they live in, where they've been born into, the better. Be it church, be it playgrounds, and the families that would invite you, or you start inviting them. I did not initially understand a lot of things about additional needs village until I hit rock bottom and I had to seek help. I reached out to a friend of mine, my university friend, and she was like, I know of a group in the UK that you can reach out to. And bless her, Reverend Victoria Lawrence, she's been a huge part of my journey. She uses her own experiences to support families globally who are raising children with additional needs. She is a reverend minister. So God used that one to break me to say, she's a reverend minister. So if you say, talk about faith, she has faith.
It's got it. Yeah.
You get like, what is your problem? You need to learn. So I started learning. I started hearing other parents, started seeing things that I was overlooking. I started seeing other parents talking about it. Okay, my child does this, or we're getting this support and that support. I'm like, what? And my child, the nursery are saying this, and I'm like, oh, she's just developing. It's just what's that word? She'll be fine. Her brother was speech delayed. I'm sure she'll be fine. And she's already 3, and she wasn't really having eye contact. She wasn't doing a lot of things. And I one day I met a very blessed lady. When she came for the assessment, I started talking about what my daughter could do instead of emphasizing on what my daughter couldn't do. And guess what she told me?
Mm,
She said, Joy, I understand your daughter can do this and this and that. We need to focus on what she's not able to do at her age.
mm,
Like
mm,
a light bulb moment for me. I'm like, okay, okay, I get it. And she said something again. If you keep focusing on what she can do, you're not going to get help for what she can't do.
mm. You won't say the need self,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm,
And then before you know it, she's going to outgrow the period where she can get the maximum support. Because when during the early intervention team in my area, they are amazing. They are
mm,
fantastic. From the health visitor started picking stuff and started highlighting stuff. Even when she was at nursery, they started picking stuff, they started highlighting stuff. And I was so oblivious because I was not in the right group to know that this is not normal. Every child is different. There's no point
mm,
saying child A was delayed and he became well, or he outgrew that stage and thinking that it's going to be the same. So I probably made a mistake for my son. I probably should have sought help earlier for him, but he got to primary school before we started seeking help, which was the same mistake I was going to make for my daughter. Now let go right in how and when to seek help. Trust your instincts as a mom,
yeah.
as a dad, as a carer. You may not even be the one that has the child who needs help, but the child could be in your care. So if those people that were looking out for my children, health visitor, the ISEND, the nursery teachers, if they were not sensitive enough, we probably would still be dragging a lot of things. But thank God for them. That's one of the prayers we pray, that God should bring people to our children's lives that will help them, that will bring out the best in them. So
Yeah.
thankfully, they were there. I trusted my instinct later on. I could see those things, but I was avoiding them. I was being oblivious about them. I was being in denial. But those professionals helped me to identify the need. So trust your instinct. If you notice any persistent difficulty, don't wait. Just go straight for seeking help. Consult with teachers and caregivers. Who are the teachers and caregivers? In the nursery, in the play groups you take the children to, the swimming club, the children play club. Every borough in my country, every city has a 0 to 5 provision where parents can bring their children to play once or twice a week, interacting with their peers, their age group, doing some activities to help them blossom. It's a free provision, and everyone is welcome. All they need is to just bring the child to the place, and they teach the parent how to play with the children. So
Wow.
you can, if your child is having a particular behavior, it's okay to ask those the leaders, the organizers of the event, that this is the way my child is playing. I don't really understand it. She or he is they're hitting other children, he's hitting other children, he's biting at other children, he's screaming on top of their lungs. What do you think I should do? Are these behavior common at this age? You can start asking questions. And trust me, these people are trained to either give you advice or signpost you. If you're not comfortable asking those people, you can ask your pediatrician, which is the next point. Talk to the pediatrician. In the country we live in, we have what we call the NHS service. So pediatrician will be the next level of caregiver. So the primary person you're going to be asking is your general practitioner, which is popularly called the GP, or your healthcare provider. Say, for instance, your health visitor. So for every child who is born in the UK, an health visitor is assigned to the child. Some people don't ever have to interact with them, but they will come to your house. They have certain dates in the child's early years where they have to come and visit, or you have to bring them to a center. So, whichever one, you have that access where you say anything you're concerned about, be it in their feeding, in their communication, in their cognition, in their sensory, in their sleep, how they sleep, when they sleep, how intermittently they wake up, and things like that. So make good use of the presence of your healthcare providers. They can signpost you and they can give you next step. The other thing we should talk about is the other thing to do in seeking the right help is request an educational assessment. These are for children who are already going to nursery or already at primary school. Some people don't even get that sorted until they're university. No time is too late. I've seen some people who were diagnosed at 40. But guess what?
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
40, yeah. Guess what? These people have missed out on 40 years of support. So there is a right time to seek help, and that right time is now if you think
Hmm.
there is an additional need noticed or diagnosed. So in the country where we live in, you need for you to get an educational assessment, you have to go through a process. And the process begins with your GP or your health visitor or your nursery teacher, whoever is supporting the child. The next one we should remember is everybody has an opinion. So
Hmm.
seek specialized and professional opinion. Seek specialized professionals such as your speech therapist, your occupational therapist, your psychologist, and even your general practitioner. Yeah, they're all there to support you. You don't want to just let people wish it away, or just let people distract you from what the actual needs are. Nobody's saying for faith people, nobody's saying you do not have faith. What we're saying is what is right before you. What support does the child need? Say for instance, you want to travel to Nigeria or America, and you just assume that the next airplane you see will be the one going to to the country you want to go to, and just all aeroplanes are aeroplanes, and you just enter the plane and, excuse me, and start going. There's a very high likelihood that you will not get to your destination. So what we need to do is make sure we have the right information, make sure people are supporting us in the right direction to help our children thrive. Why early intervention is crucial? Why is early intervention crucial? If you are following, just put on the comment section in the comment section. If you're gaining a teen or two, put it in the comment section. Thank you. Are we there? Okay. Yeah. Can I be seen? Can I be heard? Just checks.
Hello, I hope you can still hear us. If you're still following, if you can hear us, what has been your wow moment? What have you learned so far? Can you please put it in the comment section? Yeah, she said yes. Yes, I am. I am though. I joined not quite long. Okay, that's fine.
Lovely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lovely. So the next thing we're talking about is why is early intervention crucial? You want to maximize the child or the children's learning potential. Every child
Mm,
is a genius. Every
mm,
child is born a genius. It's how do
mm,
we maximize their learning? How do we maximize their potential? The earlier a child receives support, the better their progress. That's just it. So the other reason is it builds confidence and social skills. So when a child is confident and they're happy interacting with other children, it reduces frustrations. It reduces the fact that they have to bite other children, and it helps pair relationships. When my daughter was diagnosed, she wouldn't look at you eye to eye. She wouldn't respond to her name, and it was a concern. What did I do? I started looking out for resources to help me maximize her potential. What does she like? She loves nature. And one day we went for a nature walk and she was attracted to a land snail or garden snail, sorry. And I noticed that she was looking at the snail for extended periods and she was so fascinated how the snail was crawling so slowly. And it was like there was a light bulb moment. And guess what? When we got home, we started collecting snails in our garden. And I'll let her
mm,
watch the snail crawl, and she will bring it back and let it crawl. And guess what? She was building her eye contact. She was building
mm,
focus. And guess what? Throughout that year, we started collecting garden snails. We started feeding them. We started nurturing them. We gave them warm water baths and things like that. It was amazing. We had to go on YouTube to research on how to nurture nature. It was amazing. So our children can bring out another side of us that we never knew exist.
mm,
The same way we can bring out another side of them, their potentials that we never knew exist. The next reason is crucial is improve long-term outcomes. What does that mean? So we want these children to be able to maximize their lives when we're no longer there, when they're now adults, when they're now able to, when they're now expected to make decisions for themselves, to go on trips locally and internationally by themselves without supervision. We want them to be able to have jobs and keep the jobs. Because some people can't keep a job, not because they are not qualified for it, but because they don't have the skills that it requires to keep a job. The next reason we'll be talking about is it reduces emotional struggles. When our children can regulate their emotions, they're able to identify their triggers and remember what we've taught them to use to regulate their emotion. It could be breathing, it could be squeezing on their stress balls, it could be cuddling on their their soft toys and things like that. It could be popping the fidget toys, the poppers and stuff like that. So it just depends on how much we've put in and how the intervention program is going. It also helps low self-esteem. It prevents them from having low self-esteem. The next reason is it enhances family support. Parents and caregivers gain tools to assist their children effectively. And this is why early intervention is crucial. The skills will not be will not be gained or used if we do not seek early intervention. Next thing we're going to be talking about is types of support that is available. So we have support that are educational, which is the individualized educational plans, which is called the IEPs. Some countries call it IEP, some countries call it 504 plans, some call it the educational healthcare plans, some call it classroom accommodation. Whatever it is, go for it. So it's in the educational setting. So this kind of support is given at nursery level, primary school level, secondary school level, college level, and university level. There is also the support given at workplaces. So if the child has grown to the point where they now have to make decisions by themselves, so these are the kind of support you can be suggesting to them, because now they're adults, it's hard to make those decisions for them. It's now up to them if they want to seek help. So this information is for parents who may have missed the early stages of seeking support for their children. The other type of support we have is therapies such as speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, such as physiotherapies, and behavior interventions. The next one is assistive technology such as text to speech software, adaptive tools, sensory aids, and so on. The last type of support that I'll be mentioning is the parent and caregiver support. So that's the one I told you gave me the breakthrough, right? So counseling support,
Yeah.
support groups, advocacy organizations. So now I do not only belong to that group I joined initially. I have now looked for the local support in my city, and I engage with the other parents in my environment, engage my children, engage with their children. So we're no longer like isolated, because it's a choice
Yeah.
we have to make, and there are sacrifices involved. I choose to make my sacrifices now so that in the future I'll be free to move around. I'll be free to do my own thing when they no longer have to be dependent on me. So it depends
Mhm.
on what your family dynamics are. The truth is that one parent, at least one parent, has to be available for these children. If you currently work a full-time job and dealing with these kind of situations, well done. But if you think the strategies you put in place are not working, you may have to re-evaluate your family dynamics and think about what the plans are for the future of this child, so that the child does not entirely miss out on the support systems in place for early years or secondary school years or college years, which by then they have to make that decision, and you have really, really reduced chances of helping them, except the child depends on you to make solely depends on you to make decisions about them due to their cognition level, and you have to get a legal document for you to be able to make those decisions. I think it's called guardianship something. Yeah, please, if you know if you have an idea of what I'm talking about, kindly put it in the comment
Comment
section.
section.
Yeah. So let's take advantage of what we have and get the ball rolling. The next thing we'll be talking about is the role of schools and educators. What are the roles of schools and educators in identifying this need and supporting these children? So the first one is identifying learning difficulties early. Remember, the key word is early. Your early is now. Don't worry about the times lost. Your early is now. And collaborating with specialists. Implement the next thing is implementing inclusive education, implementing inclusive teaching strategies and personalized learning plans. Also, we want to be providing emotional and social support within the classrooms, within with the, the learning environment of the child, be it private or public, be it funded or non-funded, be it one-to-one tutoring. You want to start making this support available. The last thing, the last role is that they need to ensure accessibility through accommodations and assistive tools. These resources are there. It's just a research away. It's just a question away, and then we will have it handy. Just what before we round up, I'd like to also talk about how can parents and caregivers help. I believe you're listening to this webinar because you want to know more and how you can support your child. So while you're in the comment section, you can just put a yes or an affirmation to say, yes, I want to learn more to support my child. I want to seek help for a neighbor or seek help for a family member or things like that. Let's know why you're joining and how you would like to support them. So the first point is advocate for your child's need in school and in healthcare setting. So when you become a caregiver or a parent of a child who has additional needs, you become an advocate automatically. You don't even need a degree. Like I am an advocate not by certification, but by experience. I am doing what I'm doing now. I'm a doctor of optometry, so I do community street practice. But my primary role is being a wife and a mom after being Jesus' daughter. Yeah, so I become an advocate automatically, and it's just gonna come naturally. My child needs this, and this is what we're doing at home. We would expect that this sort of support is put in place, or even better, because I'm still learning to support my child. I'm happy for you to look into how my daughter or my son will be supported based on this and this and this that you have noticed at school. I have noticed some of them at home, but I know this child needs help. You can hear the language I'm using. You're using need-based advocacy, not assumption-based advocacy. Because some children can do a behave can give show a behavior at school and they will not show it at home, and it could be
Mm.
vice versa. Such situation is called masking, like wearing a mask. Yeah, so it's a term used in the neurodiversity world when they have a separate behavior when they're outdoors compared to when they're indoors. They have a different behavior when they're with the mom compared to when they're with the dad. They have a different behavior when they're with grandma or grandpa or even the neighbor or when a visitor comes. At this point, you want to recognize that need and start your advocacy. Thank you. So the next one is how do parents and caregivers help? How can we help? Create a supportive and structured home environment. Let your home be child friendly. Not just child friendly, I would add neurodiversity friendly or needs based friendly. Say, for instance, your child likes climbing on furniture. You're not going to go and get a, a center table. You're going to get a mat that is interactive. A mat, it could be a mat, a big mat that has ABC or that has the world map, or that when they step on it, it will change color or it will change to a 3D platform, things like that. Get a flat surface where they can interact and be grounded. The next thing we want to do is encourage social interaction and emotional expression. Say, for instance, you want to go out and the child has anxiety, you're not going to keep insisting, no, everybody's going, you have to go, and start making it a big deal. You're going to say, okay, where would you prefer we go? If the child is not pre-verbal or unable to communicate with words, you can use pictures, or you can scroll through your old pictures and remind yourself of where you went to, pardon me, where you went to that they really enjoyed, to remind yourself, okay, they enjoyed us going to the garden, like a tourist garden. We can go there. So some people, some children like places that are less crowded. Some people,
Mm.
some children like places that are crowded. So with our children, what I did, because my daughter did not like going to crowded places and my son liked crowded places, because they were not having sibling interaction as much as they should. My son was seeking attention and my daughter was avoiding attention. My daughter would not
Mm.
like me to hug her, talk less of a stranger. So imagine a visitor that is well loved by the family coming, and in our country we're very good with hugging. Oh, my daughter, come and hug me, and my daughter is pushing them away. So it just means that the child is a bit anxious, and it's a sensory avoider. They're avoiding those kind of touches, and it will take them time to build it. So what did I start to do with my daughter? I started going to less crowded places. I started seeking, and we started building it up. And because I was the only one going out with both of them most of the time, I would take her to places where my son wanted to go, watch her, get her to watch my son interacting with other children, and we gradually build it up. Now she's making friends by herself in those public places.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, that's good.
she's watch her brother interact. She's watched, now my children interact with each other. They now, she now initiates plays for both of them, and she initiates the songs she wants them to sing. She initiates the
Mm.
nursery rhyme she wants him to sing, and it's so lovely to watch them. This is 3 years, nearly 3 years after diagnosis. So imagine if I did nothing about it when she was 3 years old and now she's 6. It's if we do nothing about a problem, it's just gonna remain the same or get
It will
worse.
even get worse. Yeah,
Yeah,
it would have gone worse. Yeah, it would
except
have.
a miracle happens. And even for a
Mm.
miracle to happen, you have to first do your part. You have to
Mm.
seek the face of God. And sometimes God gives us um, answers to our prayers through the resources He has provided.
Mm.
Sometimes He does instant miracles, and other times He lets you go through the process. Whichever way, healing is a process, and we have to identify what our process is and what God wants us to go through to be able to get to our end, our desire. Yeah. So let's be very intentional about getting our children to socialize. Start from what they like to what they do not like, and before you know it, they're going to make progress by God's grace. The next thing we want to do is stay informed about send policies, the policies of special education needs or additional needs education, depending on what is called in your country or what is called in your cities. So in our cities, it's still called special education needs and disabilities policies. So when you go on the website of these counties or states, these are the search words you want to be using. You also want to search for the rights of the children who have these needs. You also want to look out for and use available resources, either be it a physical building or an online platform. The last thing there is seek professional guidance and join support networks. I cannot overemphasize this enough. The last thing in conclusion, we're getting to the end of this webinar. Additional needs is a common situation and it affects many children in different ways. It may affect children more, some children than others. So it's just identifying which spectrum or which category the child is in. Recognizing early signs and seeking help as soon as possible is crucial. This is what we want to do, and not assume or wish them away. Early intervention leads to better academic, social, and emotional outcomes. And these are the things we want for our children. Families, educators, and professionals must work together. It's teamwork. Pardon me.
Let's see.
It's
You
teamwork.
okay? Yeah.
Yes, yes. So it's just probably I need to get some air. We'll do that. So it's a teamwork, and we have to work together for the child's success. Remember, we have done our own part by bringing them to this life. God has blessed us with these children. Now it's our turn to help them thrive, beginning from where they are, not when they get to their next birthday. Happy
Mm.
birthday if today is their birthday, or their progress should start now. Every child has the right to access the support they need to reach their full potential. What this means is that we have to put our pride aside. If you feel your child does not need cowpole and the child is in pain, are you going to say, oh, I don't want my child to take any medication, I'll just let them go through the pain and they should be fine? It's not about what you feel, it's not about your pride, it's about, does the child have any pain? Okay, what can help the pain lessen? If calpol or paracetamol can help the pain to reduce, why not? If the child is having attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, does the child need focus building support? How can I get this child of mine to help that get that support? Does the child say as much as he needs to say in terms of communication, in terms of interaction? If yes, fine. If no, what support can I get to help them? Do we have speech therapies that I can access? Where are they? Are they privately funded, or government funded? Where can I find them? You start to look for these resources and start getting your child out there to get the support. Most times the support does not come to your doorstep. You have to seek it. We have to seek it. So, and I really, really hope and pray that you have learned a thing or two, and that you'll be able to identify a need in your child, or the child you care for, or your neighbor's child, or your friend's child, or your family member's child, that you can pass this information to, so that they can start seeking help. It's okay if you feel they shouldn't be assessed, but will it be okay in 5 years' time? Will it be okay when they are 18? Will it be okay when you're no longer there to be their primary caregiver? Will they be grateful that you were out there to stick your head out for them, to support them the way they needed to when they needed the help? Yes, yesterday I was listening to what it was Dumebi's channel, talking a child, a grown boy, well now probably a man, when he was talking, that his mom refused him having medication for ADHD. Maybe was that your channel?
I'm not sure. It wasn't.
Okay, maybe not you. So, and the boy
Mhm.
said when he would come home dysregulated, the mom would beat him up and say, you're being naughty. They say you have a disability. You cannot have a disability in this house. And they will beat him for having a need. It's just like somebody
That is
beating.
not even his fault.
It's not even his fault. It could even
Oh,
be
goodness.
environmental. It could be genetic. It
Oh,
could just be
goodness.
something. Do you get? So it was horrible. And as awful as it sounds, there are still parents who are oblivious about this possibility in their children.
Ignorance. Ignorance
Ignorance,
is,
ignorance,
is
and
so bad.
the bad
Why?
thing about it,
Ignorance can kill.
oh my days, it cannot just kill. It can deprive people of their destinies.
Hmm.
See the great people out there today that are doing amazing things. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, some amazing people, athletes that are doing great things. Most of them had ADHD. Some of them even autism. Some of them both. But they had somebody in their life in their lives that stood out for them, that stuck their head out for them, to support them, to bring out the best in them. And guess what? They are a part of those people's testimonies. So the question you want to ask yourself, will I be a parenting advantage to my child? Will my child be a better person because I parented them? What will become of my child when I'm no longer there? Would they be able to support themselves? Have I put structures in place to be able to avoid them being molested in the future or even now? The other day, I saw a child with autism. Well, she's now an adult. She was impregnated, but because she's not able to communicate verbally, she couldn't say who impregnated her. So, on top of caring for maybe, I think she should be in her 20s or 30s then, on top of looking after an adult who can't look after herself, they're not going to have a child from that girl or
Sure.
that lady to also start caring for. So it's a lot. But if we start early, we're going to be able to support them through when they go through different stages of their lives, including puberty, including socializing, including, yeah, so many things that are going to come their way. So you want to make sure the systems and the structures have been put in place for these children to thrive. And God will reward you for it because these children
Absolutely.
are God's children. Thank you
Mm.
very much for listening, and I hope you have learned a thing or two. God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Joy. Thank you. Thank you. This is so impactful. This is so helpful. And I want to thank you for, pouring your hearts. I could feel the passion. And honestly, I can't thank you enough. And I want to thank you most importantly for being so intentional in your children, being intentional as a parent, to give your children the right support they need. Imagine if you didn't do all of these things you did for your children. Imagine where they would have been. A child that could not maintain eye contact, a child that could not speak, respond to her name. Now she's making friendships, she's you going out, talking to people, playing with the sibling, initiating. Imagine if you didn't play that role, and imagine if you didn't have that knowledge to know what to do for your child. So that is why knowledge, honestly, is so important. We cannot overemphasize the importance of knowledge. And honestly, I give it to you. Thank you so much and well done. And I'm still encouraging you and encouraging other mothers out there. We can do these things. We can do it, whether your child requires special needs or not. We can do it. We have what it takes to parent our children, to raise our children, to raise a wholesome child. It is very, very possible. People have done it in the past. And if they did it and they succeed, we too can do it. We're not saying it's going to be all rosy. We're not saying there won't be times where we'll feel like, oh, I've had enough, I can't do it again. All of those times will come, but we can still skate through it.
Yeah.
So well done. Thank you so much for this amazing session. I have learned a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And then before are you able to take few questions?
Sure, I
There are
am.
some questions that was pumping to me when you were talking. So if you don't
Lovely.
mind.
Oh, I don't mind
Okay.
at all. That's why we're here. If I can't, I would
Okay.
signpost them. Yeah.
Okay. So first, when you're talking about masking, that is children that have different behaviors. They are home, they behave differently when they are school, and then vice versa. It dawned on me there was a child that I know then. In fact, the parents called me. I was like, oh, my child, she talks at home. But at nursery, she wasn't talking. And she was already, I think, 2 plus nearly 3. She would talk at home. So I told her, okay, when she's at home, send me picture or video of her when she's talking. So I'll be sure of what's going on. And then
Yeah.
at nursery, she wouldn't talk. She would just like, she would respond, maintain eye contact and all of that. So would you say she needed so, okay, let me tell you how I approach it. So I'm like, okay, since she's talking at home. So I wasn't quite sure if she and then the next we're gonna refer her to what's it called?
Teach
To
and
fill the
language.
form for yes, speech and language therapy. So I had to speak to the nursery, they should hold on that it might be maybe issues with the parenting at home. So from, we always find root cause. So I got to later realize that the mother, she was not doing what she was doing, what she meant to do. So the child had issue with self-esteem. So it was more of esteem for the child. So that was why when she got outside, she was not talking, she was not maintaining eye contact and all of that. So I had to give her tips, what she could do breathing, how she could connect with the child and all that. And it wasn't long. She started talking and all of that. So if she didn't come in, would we have said that child needed, it was a need for the child? Would it have been a need? And also for other children too, because I know this issue of children behaving differently at home, at school, outside is very common. So would you say that those children, they require special or additional needs? That's my first
Okay.
question.
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
That's a very good question. What you just described is called selective mutism. So it's a
Okay,
social
select,
anxiety
yeah,
disorder
yeah.
where children behave differently, or a child is unable to speak in specific social situations despite being able to talk comfortably in other situations. So for some children, they outgrow it, but you want to use every available resources to support them early, so that in addition to when so that before they outgrow it, some may outgrow it, some may not. So before we want to find out in the future whether they will outgrow it, what is happening now? If a child has
Yeah.
selective mutism or displays behavior of one with selective mutism, we want to report it, we want to seek help, we want to get professional counsel. So the earlier we report it, the better. And in the country where we live in, is who shouts the loudest. So how loud are you shouting? How how well would the support in place be relevant to the child, and what do you want them to achieve? Stuff like that.
Okay.
Yes, it is a need and it should be reported. Thank you.
Okay. So it's very important to always, whether you feel it is or not, but just report and be on the safe
Yeah,
side. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's better to err
Yeah.
on the side of caution than to
Yeah.
ignore.
Okay. And then we have a question from Faith Owolawe. They say, is there any group for support for moms?
Yeah, so where are you based? If we know where you're based, we can just put it on Google and we would find out for you, or
Yeah.
you can do it by yourself so that we don't put it on a live call. Depends on what you prefer.
Also, my next question is, so this special or additional needs of a child, does he have like levels, like is one need higher than the other, or is it just like a general, I don't know if I'm putting my words together well, is it like a general degree is it like on a general level or degree, or does it have, like, when someone is maybe like having headache, some is really severe headache, while some is just normal, not too serious and all that. So is it applicable to additional needs children?
So I get what you mean. There are
Yeah.
some needs that may be life threatening. There are some needs that most likely developmental. So say
Mm,
for instance, some children have health needs
mm,
that may impact on, or that may be happening side by side with a neurodiversity need. Do you get what I mean? So reporting one and ignoring the other is not balancing the scale. If you get what I mean? They have to
mm.
both be reported, they have to both be investigated, you have to get support for both of them. So I don't think one need should be classed as higher than the other. Say for instance, a child has anxiety issues and the other child has self-regulation needs.
No, sorry, I think you didn't get my question. Okay, so
Okay.
let's use, maybe say for example, a child have an anxiety issue. So that anxiety issue, does it have grade? Does it have
Oh,
grade?
okay.
Does it have, yeah, yeah,
Severity. Oh yes,
yes,
yes, yes, yes.
yes.
Say like for instance now, some people who have speech issues, Some can be selective mutism. Some may not even have words at all. They can just be
Okay.
making funny noises like mm, or just be humming or making giving behaviors that are not really sociable. It doesn't help them socialize, makes them look awkward or weird in the eyes of onlookers. So you can see that there are levels. One could be mild, one could be moderate, one could be severe. So it depends on the diagnosis criteria that is used during the assessment of this child. So for every report you give, the health professionals have diagnosis tools, diagnostic tools that they use to categorize the condition. So there's no one size fits all, if that's what you're asking me. There's no one
Okay.
size fits all, and there are
Mm,
similarities. So if a child has autism, there can be it's a spectrum, it's a very wide spectrum. So no two
mm.
children with autism will present the same way. So if they say if you
Oh,
have seen a child with autism, you have seen just one child or one adult with autism. Yeah, they're
okay.
not the
Thank,
same.
thank you. Yeah, I get it now. Thank you. And also, what advice will you give to parents who are in denial, or especially at that initial time, maybe school teacher, caregiver, or maybe health professional, identify these needs and then say, oh, I noticed something in your child, or I noticed this and this, and they are in denial. What advice will you give to parents of such?
Well, it is a very valid place to be because I was once there. It is a very valid situation and it's a very common situation, especially among um, people who have a certain idea of how a child should behave or interact and have less tolerance for certain behaviors. It's okay to feel that you're not going to accept what you're seeing or you're not going to pay attention to what you're noticing. You're just going to do it the way our parents of old did it and just they will outgrow it. After all, people who were like this, they turned out well, in quotes. Did they really turn out well? I don't think so. So imagine a child or an adult who was diagnosed at 40 compared to a child who was diagnosed at 3. When they face each other in the workplace, one is going to be a better emotionally regulated individual compared to the one that didn't get help. And the one that got the support will be the boss of the one that didn't get the support because structures were put in place. So the thing we want to ask ourselves in this situation: is it my pride in the way? Is it my faith or my beliefs in the way? What is making me not want to accept that this child needs help? What am I afraid of? Is it what people will say? Is it what my spouse would say? Is it what my family members will say? But you know what? Let them say. People will always talk. But what does your child need? Let's just put it on paper. What support does my child need? This support I'm already giving the child, is it working? If it's not working and it's 6 months down the line, I mean, it's time to seek help. It's time to seek help. It's okay to feel that way, but it's not okay to remain that way. I got to
Hmm.
a point where I realized that, okay, things are not getting, things are not improving. What's the next step? What do I need to do? What's the support available? And now we're on the other side. We're not there yet. Don't get me wrong. We're still learning. We're still making progress by the grace of God. And I'm happy with the progress we're making. I'm grateful to God with the progress we're making. I would probably be more frustrated than I was 3 years ago if we didn't seek help. So give yourself a projection of 3 years' time, if or 6 years' time or 10 years' time. Will As much as we're being optimistic and we're being putting our faith to work. What works are we going to put in place that will change the situation? Remember, I said one favorite quote that I say is if sorry, I skip my mind. If we
Okay.
do nothing about a problem, either remains the same or gets worse. And it is
Hmm.
insanity that it is insanity for a person to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expect a different outcome. So what what these are things we have to weigh and make that decision for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So literally, it's about your child, not about anybody. It's about focusing on what your child needs. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And also, my next question is, I know of a lady that one of her child requires special needs. So for a very long time, I didn't see her, but just recently, I bumped into her and I'm like, "Oh, how are you? How you doing? How's everything?" And the next thing she said was like, um, how did she put it? I don't go out. I don't go out. I find it so difficult to go out because of my child. Because you never can tell, you just kick off and all of that. So I just don't go out. I'm sorry, we've not seen for a long time and all that. So I just hugged her and I said, I understand how you feel. And I just hugged her. That was just the best I could say.
Yeah.
So to such parents, what advice? I know you mentioned taking them out and all that, because I think her own child is, that was why I asked you if it has like the needs, if it has level, because I know her son was is more of, the high needs or something, kicks off and all of that, and doesn't have words. So what advice will you give to her, especially understanding that if and he doesn't like public places as well. So what advice will you give to someone like her?
Thank you very much. And I'm going to use my examples as well. So, to give that lady reassurance, you're not alone. Most of us would like a child that we can just give eye contact and they will just sit down, That's the ideal, right? Some children they need more than eye contact.
Hmm.
They need strategies in place. So before we visit any place, we have to do risk assessment. How are we going to transport ourselves there? How are we going to eat there? What kind of food is available? Do we need to carry our food with us? Is the place noisy? Would there be an area available for sensory regulation? Say, for instance, most parks they have picnic areas. If the child does not like crowded places to eat their food, is it okay to just spread our mats and eat and keep going? Remember when we first started having these issues, we had to look for a specialist buggy
Hmm.
because my daughter had outgrown the regular push chairs, and we needed a specialist buggy. A specialist buggy is like a step higher than a regular buggy that can keep a child that is meant to be walking on their own, to keep them safe when you're going places, to help you navigate queues, like when you go to London for sightseeing or some of these tourist attraction areas. A specialist buggy helps you keep the child safe while you navigate um, s- situations that could be otherwise distressing, or give some
Trigger. Hmm.
dysregulation, some anxiety, and stuff like that. I know some people use screens, but I found that when I use screen, my daughter would not be paying attention, which defeats the purpose. Because I know she has photographic memory, and we want her to be using that instead of a screen. So, we're on a screen detox journey means withdrawing screen and replacing it with other things. So now every week we take our daughter. Well, since they were babies, we would take them to the library. So now it's become more frequent because they're now in primary school. We go to the library every week for my daughter. For my son, he has become an ardent reader. He reads without me reminding him. So I've, I've kind of slowed down with taking him to the library because he uses his school library now. But for my daughter, we take her to the library every week. We do now. She brings the book she wants to read, which is progress. So now she's into maps, she's into jigsaw puzzles, she's into anything puzzle, you know. So it starts with identifying what is out there, what is the risk out there, where do we want to go to, what are the things this child likes that I can use to keep them regulated when before they even get the outburst.
Mm.
Say for instance, you want to go to a party and you know there's going to be loud noise and your child does not like loud noise. What do? We get things like this. It's called ear defenders, and it blocks out the noise from the child's environment. And some of these gadgets are expensive, but it's a lifesaver for the children to regulate in their environment. And if you can even ask your GP or your healthcare provider where you can get these resources in a subsidized way, or where you can even
Mm.
get grants to buy some of these things, equipment. The specialist buggy, most there are some charities that can even give it free. So now
Mm.
my daughter is 6. We've taken her off the buggy. We didn't actually take her off the buggy. She got uh, her weight collapsed the last buggy, the specialist buggy. And we're like, okay, we have to face our fears. So we've been to
Mhm.
London twice now without the specialist buggy. And we're still alive. We made it. We made
You
it.
survived. Nobody died.
Yeah. So we went to
Well done.
London to see life. So one thing we should bear in mind is that you may not be able to spend as long as you want to spend in those places, but start from where you are. Take baby steps. If after 1 hour they're ready to go, tell everybody, I'm sorry, we all have to start going. Or if you can split yourselves and take the child to a different environment and all of you later meet in at the agreed place so that you can then now travel back home, then it's fine. But if you are alone with all the children, you're better off preparing the mind of the other members of the team to say, or the family to say, oh, if this and this happens and child A is beginning to need a bit more support, can we please be ready to support this child by everybody following me when I'm following child A? So I had to help my son recognize this. So when my daughter, that was before we started getting help to take her out. Before we started getting help, I would tell my son, once Hannah runs away, you have to follow me. And he would follow me,
Mm.
So another thing I started doing was to pair up with other families going through the same challenge. Like, okay, if they're going to the seaside or the seafront or the beach or a trampoline area for more kids or a soft play, I would tag along so that we can do group support.
Yeah.
Sometimes their family may have 2 adults and I'm the only adult in my family, so we have like 3 adults, so we share the ratio out.
You can
So
help. Yeah.
look for those families who may be in similar situations or who have a bit more understanding about what you're going through,
Mhm.
so that they can let you tag along and they will not be judgmental about when
Mm.
these behaviors come up. I have a family that when my son used to be dysregulated, leaving church for us to come home, my friend's husband would practically help me calm him down and bring him to the car. Now he's outgrown it. He can even sit with me in the adult church. So it's a phase. Most of these
Yeah.
things, the children would grow out of them with the right support. It may take
Mm.
longer without the right support, But at some point, they would recognize their brain would develop, and they would
mm,
recognize their triggers, and they will be a bit more manageable in public. But that's with the right support. Without the right
mm,
support, it may take longer, and they will never be socially ready to interact with the world. And remember, we cannot raise world changers in our bedrooms or in our living room
mm,
into gardens. We need to take them out there because we're not always going to be with them.
mm,
So think about, how can I integrate my child into the society? Start with going during term times to those places. Term times, you have less people coming into the city to explore those facilities. Say, for instance, this is term time, so you have less people coming to tourist sites. But in summer, you have like times 10 of the people that would want to come to those particular areas. So some families would take time off, some take some weekends before the actual school holiday weekends to go to these places. You can start with one night, you can start with two, you can increase it to 2 nights, and so on. So their childhood is not going to be there for us to maximize forever. This is the time we have, and this is the time we're going to use, because today is what we have, tomorrow is not guaranteed. We want to make that
mm,
move and keep moving. Also, well-being walks is a very good place to start. I started teaching my children how to go for walks since they were babies. So when they started walking on their own, I'll bring them out of the push chair and get them to walk, and I'll be pushing the push chair, and they will be walking alongside. So get them to understand road safety first. You know, there everybody's walking on the road. You don't really have crowds, so you have the opportunity to teach them to focus and work on the pedestrian areas, so that if you have a child that has the tendency to run off, they call it eloping, like my daughter used to elope, and, and you want to make sure they know how to walk on the pedestrian area, because it doesn't show on the face that they've got the additional needs. They look like every other child going to school. They look like every other child going for a walk. And if you're blessed with a child that looks mature, older than their age, they're gonna think, oh, this child is 10, they know what they're doing. Whereas the child needs help. He has just run away from safety. He has no accompanying adults. You want to look out for a child who is not wearing shoes, who is not wearing jacket on a cold winter day. You want to alert, the police if you have to. If you see a child unaccompanied, you want to seek help. In my country, that is possible. But in some other countries, the neighbors are more aware. They know each other. They can say, oh, that's mama, somebody's child, or that's, and they can help. So let your neighbors know your struggles and start taking them out in your environment. Let them know your environment first before you start exploring more difficult places. This was what I did, and this is what we're still doing. And I hope that helps your friend. Yeah. Thank you.
thank you so much for that. Thank you. And I think this will probably be, so I don't bombard you with too many questions. So just
It's all right.
last one. Yeah. So I was privileged to be among parents with additional needs children. And one of them in particular, she said something that was mind blowing for me. She said, I can never forget that word. My child is my child, and there's nothing I can do about it than to love and support my child. And we still have some parents out there, all in the name of what people will say, how people will see them, they're not having that sort of relationship with their child. I have seen it. They're not having that sort of relationship. They're not taking the child out. They will prefer to leave the child. Especially when they have like special event or something, they'll prefer to get someone to look after the child at home instead of taking the child out, being proud of the child for who the child is, loving the child, accepting the child for who the child is. And so what advice will you give to such parents or People like that. What advice? Even whether your child is even a special need, just because of one difficulty your child is exhibiting or challenges, you don't want to associate your child in public, just because of what people will say and all of that. So what advice would you give to parents like that? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a very emotional situation because some parents themselves they're undiagnosed. Some parents themselves are struggling with self-esteem issues. Some parents grew up not being accepted the way they are in their own homes. So they may have grown up thinking that if a child is not in this particular way in quotes, then the child is not it's not a real child, or it's not a complete child, it's not a whole child. Come on. Every child is a blessing. Because some people would kill to have the child that you have. Let them just have a child. Number one. Number two, nobody chooses to be the way they are. God is the one who decides the way a human being turns out. We don't have the power to do it. So the
Hmm.
first thing is to have a mindset shift. What what is this what is this parent thinking? What is their mindset? What are they depressed? Because sometimes having children with additional needs can make people dive into depression. And most times people don't know the signs of depression until it is full blown. There are parents who feel like ending it all without the right support. Some
Hmm.
parents with children who they can't support feel like they are a failure. And to reduce the impact that can bring when they go into the society or when they go to family functions, to reduce those embarrassment, they'd rather stay at home until light is shine on their hearts, or light is shone on their paths, until they get the right support system. So you can choose to be the right support for those kind of families. You can choose to be there for them. You can even offer to take the child out if you feel you're equipped enough to do it. I know a lady that offered to take Hannah out a couple of times, and she
Hmm.
would have those meltdowns and everything, but she was trained. She's a trained personnel. She's a trained social worker. She's trained to do it. She just volunteered to do it as a one-off, because she already has another child that she takes into the community once a week or once a month. I'm not sure how frequent. So if you have those kind of people in your environment, the good you can do for them is either be the person who takes their child out until they're confident to go with you. And then
Hmm.
you now say, okay, you've come with me, you've seen how I supported the child when he or she was dysregulated. I want you to go for just 30 minutes today. I will be on the other side of the phone. Call me. And you have to have Bluetooth earpiece so that when you're calling, your hands are free to support the child.
Hmm.
Because you're holding the phone and you're trying to support the child, it's going to be the phone can fall and smash. I'll just give you an example. So when they're in that
Hmm.
regulated mode, sometimes parents are confused. They don't know what to do. So before you get to the point where the child has a meltdown, have a toolbox of things you can use to support the child. Make sure there are things you have tried at home or in an environment that is familiar with the child, an environment that is familiar with yourself. So if you're in that situation where you're struggling to take your child out because of what people will say, or manage the impact it's having on your family or on your child, or the family, the circle of friends or the church members, you may want to start reevaluating your circle. Because
Yeah.
you may want to start reevaluating your circle. If you have to move church, to a more inclusive church, you may have to do that. If you have to
Mm.
move house to a more inclusive city, you may have to do that. When I say more inclusive city, there are some cities that have more facilities to support the child that you have.
And the other.
How
Mm.
do you find out? When you're in support groups, your GP can help you, your health provider that is not your GP, the pediatrician, because they have this directory. And Google is there as well. You can search which city can have facilities to support children with cerebral palsy, children with autism, children. Most cities are more inclusive these days, but I don't know where you're watching from and the child you're supporting and what facilities are available. Or you want to start making these researches and you want to also start to look out for what support you can get as a parent because you can't pour from an empty vessel. You have to fill yourself up. Think of what you can do to make you feel good. I like to go for swimming once a week. I like to eat home cooked meals. I like to watch a movie when I can. I've not watched one in a long while. I feel like I feel I feel like it's there are too many things I need to do instead of doing those things that I like to do. But that's one thing I do a week. I make sure I go to swim once a week. So look for something you like to do that is not on the screen that keeps you moving, gives you that self-love hormone, getting you out there to love life, love yourself, love your God if you're a faith based person. I'm a Christian. I love listening to gospel music. I love going to church. And it's these are legacies I'm transferring to my children as well to help them know that you have to love yourself, have to do what you like to do. Sometimes I put what I want them to do aside and get them to do what they want to do. So these are things we should remind ourselves of so that we can be able to support ourselves better, support our circle better, and most importantly, support the children we have better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you for always talking with passion. Thank you. Thank you. Can I still
Yeah,
ask one last question? Just
I
the
don't
last, I
mind
promise.
at all. I don't
The last
mind.
one.
Thank
So
you.
I've read so many articles, I've seen a lot of professionals, coaches, talk about the impact of excessive screen on a child and how it's linked to autism, HD, ADHD, and all of that. Is it really true? Does excessive screen on a child, does it have any link with all of these special or additional needs in a child? Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of researches out there, and there are a lot of um, live examples that increase this. The impact of screen has increased the rate of um, children getting dysregulated. It has also impacted on the incidence of autism and ADHD being diagnosed. These are concerning issues, and it's being looked into by many professionals who believe that it's impacting. And the fact that it's addictive also makes it more concerning. It's addictive to adults alone, how much more children, you know. So we want to stop deceiving ourselves and taking the bull by the horn and facing it head on. So we want to, if you don't believe in it, we want you to at least try withdrawing the screen for a period and see how the child, of course, replacing it with something else, and see how the child responds. Most times there is serious withdrawal syndrome, and that comes with lots of behavioral difficulties, which can even, sweep somebody, take them off balance, take parents off balance or caregivers off balance. I'm really happy with my daughter's school. It's a special school for now, and they are really supporting our screen withdrawal strategy and process. So recently, we've had to get our daughter an MP3 player. So we downloaded all the nice things she would normally watch on YouTube and downloaded them and put them in an MP3 player. And guess what? Within in less than a few hours that she was holding the MP3 player, she had mastered the controls that I didn't even know about. She had mastered the MP3 player. She would reduce the speed of the music or the story. She would increase the speed of the story. She would do all sorts with it, choose the story she wants. And it's amazing to see. And what are we doing? We're building her listening skills. We're
Hmm.
getting her to pay attention to our environment while listening to what she would normally watch on YouTube. So before now, we would use Bluetooth speakers. And because she didn't really have control over the speaker, it was more difficult for her. So I got this light bulb moment about, okay, when I remember when I was in uni, I used to have an MP3 player. So I'm like, okay, let's get this thing. And it's been a game changer. All I need to do is make sure it's charged, you know. So there are lots of replacements. It's causing our children to be dysregulated a lot because the part of the brain that is responsible for addiction is also the part of the brain that's addiction to hard substances. It's also a part of the brain that is affected when we have excessive screen exposure, either as a child or as an adult. It's more difficult
Hmm.
for a child to manage this situation than it is for an adult because of the level of maturity of the brain. A child's brain does not fully mature until they are 28 or 25.
21?
I think
Around,
25
yeah. Yeah.
between
Around
25
that.
and 28.
Yeah.
Different professionals have different um ideas, but it's within that range between 25 and 28. How old is your child? If the child is less than 25, it means their brain is still maturing. And even after that 28, they still need your guidance. They may not need full guidance depending on their cognitive level and their interaction level or whatever level, whatever need they had. You still get that. Even my parents are late now, but I'm sure if they were alive, they would still be giving one or two suggestions or guidance and things like that. Thank God I still have my in-laws. They still give guidance, they still give corrections, they still give um, advice and things like that. So we want to take the bull by the horn. It's okay for your children not to like you when you take the screen away. What's the main aim? What's the goal? How do you want them to develop? How do you want them to see life? Do we want a child or an adult that will be dysregulated in the future, or do we want a child that is supported to go through the phase of dysregulation now so that they can be regulated in the future? These are questions we want to be asking ourselves. The other thing we want to ask also, what replacements have we got before you take away the screen? What are the options? Things like Lego, puzzles, MP3 player, from my experience, you know, cooking, get things that they can use in the kitchen when you're cooking. They are playing with their own cooking utensils. And, there's so many replacements out there. But please and please your seek help from your child's healthcare provider. Seek professional guidance because every child is different. For some children, they may need to withdraw in stages and in phases. For some children, they may just be a complete withdrawal. So it depends on what your professional advice is and what you are able to cope with. We can say withdraw the screen, but are you ready for the dysregulation? What are the tools in your toolbox that you're going to use to regulate, to help them regulate? I belong to a parents academy where every day they teach us how to help build executive functioning skills into our children. So whether I like it or not, there are tools, already made tools for me to use for my children to help them in the course of the day, we have emotional regulation plans. We have plays we can do. We have places that we're advised to take the children to, and things like that. So what are your strategies? You can't just take out the screen without replacing it with something. You have to be equipped, as we said earlier on, be ready to, to take the bull by the horn and face your fears. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Honestly, I can't thank you enough because a lot have been said and we have learned a lot. And thank you so much for that. We really, really appreciate you. Thank
My
you for your
pleasure.
time. Thank you for being so passionate about it, so passionate. I could feel it. Thank you so much for also using your real life experiences to teach us because some would have just, focused on theory parts, but you shared your real life experiences, your own personal experience, which helped us connect the more. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate. And honestly, we need to bring you back again. I am looking forward to bringing you back again. So thank you
Oh,
so
happy to
much.
be back.
Yes.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
I would like
Um,
to just let them know if anyone would like to follow me on my social media
okay.
platform. We have somewhere you can reach us on Instagram and on Facebook. You can also reach out to Dumebi for my direct
Yeah, you can
contact.
put it in the comment section as well so they can follow you as well. It's fine.
Okay, I'm not sure
Yeah.
how. Let's see. Is it
Or
on
you
the
can
YouTube
send it to me.
platform
I'll
or?
put it on the description. I can put it in the description button as well.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
lovely. I'll do that
Thank
now.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having us. So
Thank you
the
so
name of the group is Nurture a Child with Joy. And I hope that,
Nurture a child with joy. Nurture a child with joy. So you can feel free to follow her. Nurture a. Is that the name of your social media? Which of the social media?
yes, both Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, so you can follow on Facebook, Nurture a Child with Joy, and Instagram, Nurture a Child with Joy. So feel free to follow her, feel free to send her message. She's a very lovely person. She's happy to share
Oh,
her knowledge with you. So feel free. Like she has said, we need to achieve these great results. We need community. We can't do it alone,
yeah,
because there will be a time where you feel I've had enough, I'm tired, you feel overwhelmed, you just feel like just giving up. But if you have the right support, it will give you strength that will still keep
yeah,
you going on daily basis. Even the time
true,
when you just don't feel like the right support will help you get someone that could, stay filling that gap for you while you have maybe it's the rest you need or you want to go for
true,
swimming. Like she said, every week she goes for swimming. Do you know what that swimming does for her? It gives her, it makes her refreshing. It makes her refresh so that by the time she gets back home again, she's faced with her reality. So that is what, and when she's at swimming, there's someone looking after the children for her. There's someone filling the gap for her. That is what support and not just support, the right support can do for you.
mhm,
So feel free to seek help, feel free to, you can't do it alone. Community is very, very important. So please feel free
absolutely.
to share what is your wow moment, what is your take home, what have you learned today? Put it in the comment section. Let's see it. For me, my take home is every child is a blessing. She said it. Every child is a blessing. There's no broken child. Every children is a wholesome child as long as the child gets the right support. It's about getting the right support that the child needs and identifying these needs in a child early intervention matters. Once you're able to identify it on time, it helps you, it gives you that chance, to support the child. Unlike when you do nothing, waiting, like she said, someone 40 years and they're just diagnosing him. You know what the child or the person or the adult would have would have lost in all of those age gaps. So seeking
Yeah,
the right support, seeking the help, having community, and understanding that your child is a blessing. Every child is a child, and every child is a blessing. Every
true.
child is a blessing. Every child can be what they are meant to be, can fulfill their full potential if
Mhm.
they get the right support. And how do you get the support? It's through knowledge like this. Seeking this knowledge. There are a lot of things I've learned today that I did not even know. But knowledge have helped me, has created that awareness for me So it is through knowledge you're able to, help your child to thrive, because every child, once they have the right support, they thrive. They thrive. So seek
Absolutely.
knowledge. Anytime you see opportunities, teachings like this, take advantage of it, because you never may know, one word can make a difference in your parenting, your parenting journey. So always seek knowledge. So thank you so much for doing this live with me. I really appreciate, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and let's do this again next time. And
Sure.
once
Thank you
again,
for
thank you
having me.
for parenting. Well, joining
Yeah.
parenting with Dumebi. Yeah. Thank you so much, Joy.
Take care. See you on the other side.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Yeah.